We got wet, loose radiator mounts on this wet, beautiful day. This is an L8000 Ford. It's got a Cummins 8.3 diesel in it, turbo system. And when I was doing repairs on the turbo system, the air cooling system, I discovered that the radiator bolts were, the mount bolts were non-existent on the bottom. Well, the bolts are there. It's the nuts that are not there anyways. And so this is about fixing the loose radiator mount. And the radiator bolts, mounting bolts, are going to be on the lower end of the truck. There's mounting bolts all over the radiator, but the ones that keep the radiator from moving up and down, the main ones on the bottom of the truck on the frame, it's not uncommon for those bolts to fall off, or the nuts to fall off in this case. And I called down to Ford to ask them about what was going on with that, and they said it's a very common problem. People drive their trucks for years without having a problem, but there are some people who go through a pothole and all of a sudden the radiator moves up and down real fast, real quick, and then there's major problems then. Now, I already got the bolt put on this with a lock washer and a washer, but the one on this side, I still got to put a new bolt or a new nut on it, but I can't get the nut on there because the threads are damaged. So I have to take a Dremel and carve out the threads. These are the Dremel bits I'll be using. They're small and pointy, and they can dig out in between the threads on the bolt. You can see the bolt, it's actually been pretty hammered severely. It's been pounding on this piece of metal down below. So we'll see what kind of luck I have. Okay, now I've thoroughly cleaned the head of the bolt using a wire brush and an engraver with the Dremel. So next I'm going to take the nut and put it on there. I'm going to tighten it all the way to the top and then bring it back down and then put a washer and a lock washer on it and then put it back on. The reason why I'm going to put the nut on there first is because it might be, I just want to see what it's going to do, and I might have to force it all the way to the top. In other words, I might have to more or less re-thread it using the new bolt or the new nut that I have before I actually tighten it up for good with a lock washer on it. Okay. Well, actually, I changed my mind and I put the washer and the lock washer up there with some plumbing putty. And because I got very limited room to work, I can only get one hand up there where that's at, and the putty will keep the washer and the lock washer up on the bolt while I try to get the nut on there. Duct tape would work as well, but when it's wet and rainy like this, maybe the putty might work a little bit better. And so because it's so wet and cold right now, I don't want to have time to mess with it, and so I'm just gonna do this in one shot. I'm gonna tighten that bolt up, or tighten the nut up on the bolt with the lock washer and the washer on it. Well, there it is. I got it done. As you can see, it's pretty dark out there in the light. There's a good view at the top of the bolt, the carriage bolt, but it goes down pretty deep, and the other side's over there. There's two carriage bolts that hold the radiator in place. That's the bracket on the top. I think maybe if I need to point that out, this is the bracket, and that's the carriage bolt in there, and this is a rubber grommet. And the bolt that I just tightened up is on the bottom there. And so it's another successful mission done in the dark. Giggity giggity.